Hello and welcome everybody to Flicker Effect, a podcast where each week we chat about the world of film, television, and pop culture. This is episode number 180, and we're recording on Sunday, July 30th, 2016. I'm David Lott. Joining me this week is Bobby Jackson.
Hey, guys.
And Michelle Curry.
Hello, everyone.
How's it going, guys? Are the post-con blues finally dying off? Are we cool?
Not quite yet. You guys sound so far away now. So it's back to the normal, but not quite normal just yet. So it'll probably take another week because I was already thinking about, as we record this on my time in the West Coast, like 5-ish, I'm thinking, we were in Hall H at this time, ready for the Marvel panel. And that was just a week ago, but it feels like it was an eternity ago just because of how different the week has gone since the week of Comic-Con. So it's still there. It's still lingering, but it'll pass.
Yeah. It didn't hit me really hard until I got in the car from the airport, started driving home, and then that's when it was I started remembering everything that we did, and I'm the depression kind of started to hit hard. It was bad. Yeah. But it is what it is. We're back to the norm. Michelle and I are back here in Orlando. Bobby, you're still out there in Southern California, enjoying the nice weather.
Without humidity.
It was so nice for a weekend.
So amazing.
Everyone in San Diego was walking around crying, oh God, it's so hot.
There's so much humidity in the air, I can't breathe.
It's 5% humidity. This is terrible.
There was a woman who actually, she was like, do you realize this is the most humid it's been in years? And I literally looked at her, I'm like, I literally cannot even feel it.
There is
on my skin, I literally cannot feel this.
I love the way you guys are armchair Monday morning quarterbacking right now, because you guys were complaining about the heat.
Let's clarify this. Yes. I was not complaining about the heat per se, the temperature. Michelle? I was complaining about the fact that the sun was frying my skin, which is a different thing.
And what causes the heat? It's the sun. So you were complaining about the heat vis-a the sun.
No. Temperature-wise, I was totally fine. And especially when there was a breeze coming, it was lovely. But the sun was big. You stop, Bobby. Just stop.
I want to be clear, though. Was there at any point that I ever complained about the heat?
Yes.
When?
You did.
When the hell did I ever complain about the heat?
Line for Hall H.
Line for Hall H when?
Very much.
Friday.
I know, but I don't remember.
We all were complaining.
I complained I wish I could get my skin out of the sun.
Right.
But
That's what I was saying, basically.
Never at any point did words come out of my mouth that said, it is too hell of a hot out here. No way.
Come on. Of course, you didn't say it in that way, but you intimated the fact that it was definitely hot and it could have been a little bit cooler.
I will fully admit that compared to previous times in San Diego, my previous whole summer that I spent living in San Diego and previous cons, that there was no doubt that this con was hotter. No doubt about it. But was it hot? Hot? Fuck no. Not even close.
And that's what I'm saying. I was complaining about the fact that my skin was turning into a lobster, but the fact that the temperature was actually not bad. It just wasn't. The temperature itself was not bad. It was really more or less the frying of my arms and my scalp. God, my poor scalp. That was really my biggest complaint.
Yeah. No.
I say it's semantics, but fair enough.
No, it's not semantics.
No,
That's not
it's
semantics.
Definitely semantics to me, because here's the thing. Yes, okay, temperature-wise, you're not complaining that the temperature is actually hot, but wherever you slice it, it's the fact that the sun is out beating down on your chest.
It's almost like you don't understand the heat that we're complaining about, Bobby.
Yeah, Bobby, get on a plane.
Get on a plane.
Come on. GeekyCon is happening right now in Orlando, so come on over. We'll make it worth your while. We'll buy you a pass for GeekyCon. And
let me bottom line it. I'll bottom line it. You both were complaining about the weather to a certain degree, regardless of it's the sun that's being out or the actual temperature. There was complaints about how the weather was. That's all.
Yeah, you're definitely digging deep, dude. I'm sorry.
Oh my. Okay, well, we'll talk to Yasha when he's back on the show so he can back it up for me, because I'm pretty sure you guys were complaining. Maybe the sun actually made you delirious and now you've forgotten about it, but you guys definitely complained. So that's all I'll say.
All right.
Okay, Bobby.
Sorry. Not in a million years was it hot out there. Was it
God,
hotter?
no.
Sure. Like I said, it could have been cooler. Hey, man, I'm like you, Bobby. Like, I'm a hoodie guy. I would love cool, like low 70s, high 60s kind of weather.
Oh, yeah.
That would be great. But I'm, not in the fantasy world. It's mid-July. It's not going to happen. And for what it was, yeah, I wish it could have been cooler, but I would live in that kind of weather year-round compared to, I would trade in our Florida summers for that year-round weather in a heartbeat.
Amen.
No problem.
Hallelujah. Preach it. Yeah, I will say, what was it, Saturday, while you gentlemen were in the air conditioning of Hall H.
See, now you're complaining about the weather.
No. What I will say is that I'm not complaining until let me finish my sentence. So I'm not complaining because it was overcast until like 2 p.m, which was lovely. So like I'm walking around and there's just no sun frying my skin, and I'm like, hey, this is amazing. I'm like, this can happen for the rest of the day. Like temperature. And it's funny because people were walking around, they're like, it's so hot. I'm like, actually, it's not hot. Like, I'm great now. The sun is not beating down and is trying to turn me into a different color. Like, that was spectacular. But then somewhere around like 2:20, the sun came out and it ruined the whole thing again. But yeah.
Well, anyway.
Anywho.
Like I said, we talk about film and other stuff. We don't talk about weather.
We totally talk about other things other than the weather.
I have a couple quick announcements before we get to our chat. Real quick. For those of you that are Android users or Google users, I would like to announce that our podcast is now available on Google Play Music.
Whoop, whoop. I actually listened to it today. The ones that I didn't record with you guys in Comic-Con through Google Play.
Very nice.
As a matter of fact. It was quite lovely.
On your Android phone?
I did. I listened through it on my Android phone. It was quite lovely.
Very cool.
It was very refreshing.
So yeah, if you're an Android user and you don't already use a different podcast app, it would be an easy way to find us. Most likely your device already has Google Play Music on it. So you can find us in there. Just search Flicker Effect, 2 words. If you're searching for us on a web browser, I believe the website is play.google.com/music. And then just search for Flicker Effect, and there we are. Also, we have a YouTube page. We've had it for a while. We have attempted in the past but anyway, we have attempted in the past to do video podcasts of this. And we may do that again, but for now, you will be able to regularly listen to this show on YouTube if this is your thing. That doesn't mean there's going to be video. There won't be. It'll just be still the audio show. But if you prefer to use YouTube, you will be able to find all of these episodes on our YouTube page, which is youtube.com/Flicker Effect.
Awesome.
So yeah, we're on YouTube. We're on Google Play Music. As always, you can still find us on iTunes. We're available there. You can always stream the episodes right from our website, flickereffect.com. You can find them there as well. So many outlets to listen to the podcast. And if you are using like a different podcatcher, for example, I use Beyond Pod on my Android phone. Most of them, you can just search for Flicker Effect and they will come up. Our show will come up in the podcast application. So you shouldn't have a problem finding us.
Sweet.
So with that, moving on. Star Trek.
I know.
We all finally saw it.
Finally, after watching the stars arrive for the preview at Comic-Con and feeling like gutted that we couldn't go to that.
Yeah.
That was kind of depressing, I will say.
So yeah, the premiere was at Comic-Con Wednesday night. And yeah, we just couldn't make it happen. And even if we had gotten there, would we gotten tickets? Who knows? But
right.
I don't think so. Based on what I heard about how the line actually was to get tickets and everything, I heard it was pretty crazy, and people had been lined up since early in the morning.
Yeah,
and so
I believe it.
Yeah, so I was like, I guess we probably wouldn't have gotten anything, but
yeah, it's fine. But it was tough, like that it premiered that weekend of all weekends, and obviously we were crazy busy with Comic-Con. And as much as I am a Star Trek fan, I'm like, there was no way to fit it in the rest of the weekend. So it killed me that a Star Trek film was out and I wasn't seeing it yet. I didn't see it till Thursday night. I felt like I had to turn in my Trekkie membership card. But oh well, I finally saw it.
Yeah, I feel even worse than you did. I just saw it today.
Yeah, you saw it right before you came here.
Right before you came here. Like, I feel like I'm like letting down like the fandom or something. Like I'm such a letdown. I'm so sorry. It took me over a week to see this.
I know.
It's kind of, I don't know. It's just weird that, yeah, it just didn't work out, man. It's too much happening at Comic-Con.
So we all saw Star Trek Beyond. It's the one thing we all saw. So I wanted to start with that first. Michelle, I'm going to start with you. We don't have the Bowl of Destiny in front of us.
Oh, okay.
So sorry. I'm just going to randomly say, hey, Michelle.
Awesome.
What'd you think of that film? Obviously, we're not going to talk about spoilers if anyone's listening and scared that we are. But what'd you think of it?
Well, and like on one side, I'm really fresh because I just saw it. But on the other side, I'm still also absorbing it in my head a little bit. So this is my thoughts after literally just seeing this not but an hour ago. So overall, I liked it. I enjoyed it. I had a good time. It was fun. It's very throwback to the show, and even a little throwback to some of the original movies in certain ways. But like, yeah, it feels very classic Gene Roddenberry, very, very true to the Star Trek. I don't know, like the core, I guess, is the best way to put that. Like, it's about unity and coming together, no matter creed, race, religion, color of skin, gender preferences. I mean, all of it. It's just all about, putting aside any difference that you have with another existing, breathing thing and finding a unity amongst people. And so it was good, and I enjoyed it a lot. The special effects were on point, except for one scene that I was being nitpicky on. There's, I will say it's kind of neat. There's this, I guess, I don't know what to call it, but it's called, I just forgot. Was it Williamsburg?
Yorktown?
Yorktown. Yes. Thank you. Sorry.
Always.
So Yorktown, I gotta say, like, the idea behind that and like visually seeing that come to life was spectacular, and it was something that I think pushed kind of the boundaries of the Trekdom in a way. Like, it was just such a unique concept as you're going through the whole thing, and I was gobsmacked by how awesome it looked, and just the idea behind it too. Like, there's just visually it's amazing, and the idea that they had for this was just otherworldly. And like, if this actually existed, it's an idea that's like, wow, holy crap, that's amazing. Like, how did they ever get to this? I don't know. It just seemed like it advanced the Star Trek storyline in a way that Gene Roddenberry was always trying to come up with different things and different ideas, and trying to always like look forward to the future of things. I don't know. I really liked it, but yeah, I don't know. It feels like you're almost watching an old episode of the show in a lot of ways. I don't know. Yeah, it's everybody. I will say, like, there's a few times like I'm watching it, and every time like Anton Yelchin would come on the screen, he would say something or do something, and like a little like tinge in my heart, like, oh my God, Anton, really? Like, I can't believe that this is. I don't know. It's his whole thing is just sad, and like it's just so in your face because it's so recent that he passed away, and the way that he passed away was such a flukish, crazy thing, and so it was just like, in a way, it's like taken before his time. And so like to see him on screen doing a role that he really he said he has a lot of fun doing this character, and to see him doing that, being with everybody and seeing them all, it's the gang's all here kind of feeling, and I'm just like, man, this is kind of killing me a little bit. And even at the end of the movie, they before the full credits start rolling, they say, for Anton. And I was just like, man, I'm gonna start tearing up at the credits, man. Like, this is killing me. But I would say overall, I really enjoyed it. It's not my favorite of the three. I don't even know how to rank them, but I had a lot of fun. It was a fun movie. I was happy with it. I've got a few nitpicky things, but really that's all kind of spoilery, and we're not doing that, so I'm just going to kind of move past that.
Well, we might. I mean, if we feel like we want to really chat about spoilers, maybe after as a post-show kind of thing.
Maybe.
There might be a tag.
I don't know. Overall, I'm happy with it. I enjoyed it. And I think that's kind of the point when it comes to Star Trek films is they are to make you feel like you're transported to a different place and a different time, and I felt that way. So, yeah.
Bobby, you saw it also today, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
What'd you think of it?
For me, I think it's probably my favorite one of the new rebooted movies, honestly, because I think with the first one, it was just coming out of the gate, and there was a lot of interesting concepts and ideas in the way they rebooted it and made it its own timeline, which was interesting, but it was still the first movie. And then the second one was a bit more messy to me, and I just really didn't feel the spirit of Star Trek in it. And with this one, I think it just all sort of came together in a way that you really get the sense of these characters being a family and how strong their relationships are together. And I don't think the other movies allowed for that as much. Whereas with this one, it just really feels like their bond is there and it's on display and shows how well they work together as a team, and also how smart and intelligent they are when they're not together and able to get their own part of the puzzle to fit together when they're actually a crew, and showing that, you know, they can be out on their own and still be able to think through a situation and come up with ways to do things for themselves without having to be told or having the captain kind of figure things out for them. So I thought that was really well done, the way they were able to incorporate these guys getting their own sort of moment in the spotlight to showcase their abilities. And so that worked for me. The humor worked for me really well. I thought it was funny. A lot of parts through in the right ways and at the right time for it to be funny. I also really just enjoyed the visual look of it. It just really, really looked good. Like Michelle said, there are a couple spots where it's a little shoddy, I guess you might say, but it's rare to find a perfect CG movie, but this really did look really, really good. And I like the idea that there was like I wouldn't say it's a smaller story, but it didn't feel like it had this intergalactic scope to where, you know, the whole universe was in peril kind of thing. It just felt more like it was a personal story in a way, but in a way that made it fit for this particular film. And like sort of like in a small sort of way, like how Star Trek Insurrection was. It was kind of just like this smaller story, almost like an episode extension of the series, as opposed to like this big theme where something's going to happen and cause the whole universe to go into chaos. It didn't have to have that scope in this one as it did in that one as well. And so I really just liked the idea of just us getting to spend more time with these characters and being able to further evolve those characters in a way that makes you excited to see where they go next with everything, because this one really feels like it's the start of the series to me, more as opposed to the first two. So I really enjoyed it. I liked it a lot.
So yeah, I also saw it. Like I said, I saw it Thursday night. I will say I feel like I probably enjoyed it about like you did, Michelle, but I'm about to come across like I enjoyed it less. But yeah, I have to say I walked away from it disappointed in the movie. And also a lot of the things you just said too, Bobby, I agree with. Like, it does feel like more like an episode than it does a film, but that's my problem with it. And that's my problem with the kind of the franchise in general, is that I've said before, like, this Star Trek for me, it works as a show. It flourishes as a show. And it's at its best when it's a show. And even though I do love the movies, like, you know, like this movie starts off and he talks about how it's been 3 years that they've been out on this mission. And those are the 3 years I wish I could see. Like, and of course, not in a million years are we going to ever see like this cast in a show version of this. Of course not. And I'm not pretending that that's ever going to happen. But if it could, that's what I want. Like, that would be amazing. But unfortunately, you know, we're seeing them as films. And in the end, like, this felt like a good episode. But I was just like, I had to say, most of it I was bored. Like, it felt like you took an hour-long story and you drawed it out to 2 hours. And as much as I do like the character development in it, and I love seeing like, the couple of pairs of, crew members that are out on this planet on their own, maybe get to know each other a little more, even though they've been out on this mission for 3 years. That's nice, but I have to say, I found myself kind of like, okay, this could pick up a little bit. Like that was definitely my reaction to it. I mean, I think in the end, as a Trek fan, I will go back to, these films. Who knows how many of these films we'll end up getting? I know we're going to get a fourth. Maybe we'll get 5, 6, or 7. Who knows? But I'll definitely probably rewatch it, just like I rewatch a lot of these Star Trek films and enjoy it. And it will have a place in the Star Trek pantheon of films that I like. And it definitely is not a bad movie. But I would say so far with the rebooted films, this Kelvin timeline, it's definitely third for me. For as many problems as I have with Into Darkness in terms of like the direction they went in with the storyline and choosing to do Khan, and I know I can look back at that movie and go, God, that's so irritating that they decided to do Khan. I wish they could have done something different. The amazing thing about that movie is, even so, it's still as entertaining as shit. And this was not there for me like that. It just wasn't. The two J.J. Abrams films, I got to say, that guy knows how to make a movie. And nothing against Justin Lin. I've enjoyed Justin Lin films. But, I don't know. I have to say I walked away from it disappointed. I'm not saying it's bad. I definitely think it's worth a watch. And if you're a Trek fan, of course, go see this if you haven't seen it yet. But, I can't help but feel like I was a little bored at times. And I don't know. Unfortunately, again, these are films, and I feel like to make it worthy of making a movie out of this, that the story needs to be a little bigger. And this just felt like a show. It felt like an episode. And unfortunately, if this were an episode, I'd be like, man, that was a great episode. But I'm not going to get 22 episodes a season of this. This was just one time, and I'm not going to get another one for probably 3 or 4 years. So I don't know. That's kind of how I walked away from it. I mean, I know I'm speaking for my wife. She saw it with me, but she felt the exact same way. I mean, in fact, I think she told me her reaction before I told her mine. She felt exactly the same about it. Yeah, I don't know. I was bummed. I was bummed because, I mean, it's getting pretty good critical acclaim. It's got like an 83% on Rotten Tomatoes. I mean, definitely people like it. But I'm sorry. Just my honest reaction is that it's just not there.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. I feel that storyline-wise, it's a lot more simplistic than the previous two, for sure. And it definitely, like I said, it feels like watching an episode. There's a lot of throwbacks. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of the way the story evolves and the things that occur. Like, it's done that way. And, it's also, there's also kind of little nods to the show too, but like, it's just, it's literally done the way a show is done in a way. I mean, it's just a really long show.
Long episode of a show, yeah.
Right. Like, it's like, episode 1 of 2 of a season ender in the beginning of another season. Like, that's what you're watching, But yeah, it does sound like you enjoyed it less than I did. But I mean, at the same time, like, yeah, I still really enjoyed it. I agree with you. Like, if you're a Trek fan, you totally need to see this film. It's fun, and it's the cast that we like and love now. And yeah, I don't know.
And I want to see it again.
Oh, I'll own it.
I mean,
for
hey,
sure.
in a perfect world, I wish before we reviewed these films on this podcast, I could watch every film twice.
Oh, yeah.
And there's no doubt that upon a second viewing, you definitely can dig deeper into your thoughts in a film. But, that's definitely my reaction walking out of this first viewing.
And I mean, I think Justin Lin did a good job. I don't think he did a great job, but I think he did a good job. I think he did a really good job of a simplistic story idea. I will give him that much credit for sure. But
in his defense, he did exactly what I asked for after, like, Into Darkness. After Into Darkness, my biggest complaint about that, really my only complaint, was like, why couldn't we have just done something original?
And they did that.
And now they did that.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's a whole new species,
but
basically.
in the end, the way it's structured, I mean, there's just so much time on this planet where it's just like, okay, And it was what I somewhat feared when I talked about one of the trailers, where my complaint was,
oh yeah,
what I love about this show is time on the Enterprise.
Right.
Not to say at all that the show cannot be a good show when it's not on the Enterprise. And sure, there are examples of films, entire films, Star Trek 4, where they weren't on the Enterprise at all, right. Except for the very, very end of the film.
Right.
And it was a very good movie. With that said, I mean, that was my fear when I saw the trailer. I'm like, man, I get the feeling we're not going to be on the Enterprise much. And sure enough, we were not.
No.
And in the end, I was just like, oh, man, I kind of miss the ship. Like, kind of enjoy them on the ship and doing things on the ship. And, that was maybe something else that kind of bummed me out. But
I think it comes down to however you go into the movie feeling or expecting. You obviously are a person that enjoys the show. I enjoyed pretty much every iteration of the show with the exception of Voyager. And for me, I think everything about it that you didn't like is everything about it that I actually loved. And that I feel like we've gotten enough of the movies where it's just big high octane action, and I needed something that made me feel like Star Trek again, where it's just concentrating on these characters and getting the feel for them, because within these two movies, it's like I have never yet felt the real connection to that this is now my Star Trek crew. This is the people that will be leading the movies going forward. And I just guess I never really felt that connection between them to make me feel like it was Star Trek. And within this one, you really get that sense. And maybe it's because it's the third outing, or maybe it's because of some of the scenes that some of the characters had together. It all just sort of came together for me with this one in a way that the other two hadn't. And so I just really, I think, enjoyed it on that level of maybe just being a little bit more character driven with action beats sort of peppered in. But I can definitely see how if a person's going into it and has been loving the action aspect of the last two films, how they could be sort of let down, because this doesn't have that. And it's not the big sort of, like you said, being on the Enterprise and having the space battles and the ship battles or whatever. So it's more of I wouldn't say character piece, because it's definitely not that either, but it's a quieter film, I would say.
See, I think there was lots of action, actually. There were times I actually clenched up in the theater a few times. Like, I felt myself, like, my muscles clenching a few times.
I mean, sure, it had some action, but overall, I felt like the pace could have been
a little faster. I will give that. I mean, but yeah. And it's weird, like, I felt connected with this cast from the first one. Like, I was like, yeah, I am way down with these people being, like, these characters. This is my crew. Like, I love this. Mm-hmm. Like, I felt a connection almost immediately. But yeah, I mean, there was just little things that I really enjoyed. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, I love watching Spock kick ass. Like, I love watching him just beat the crap out of an alien. It just makes my day. Like, at one point, he's, like, just pounding on somebody. I'm like, God damn, that's awesome. Like, I just love that.
Yeah.
It's just weird things like that. Like, just get me, like, really giddy. I don't know why, but it does.
Yeah, I mean, over the weekend now, since I saw the film, as I've been doing things around the house and kind of hanging out with the kids and not able, at times when I haven't been able to devote 100% of my attention to a show, I have thrown on actually a couple episodes of the original series on Netflix over the weekend. And yeah, I would love to be able to go back and rewatch it all. It's been a while.
Yeah.
And that's the stuff I love. And I really can't wait for the CBS All Access show, Star Trek Discovery. That is, again, I feel like that's Star Trek at its best in the episodic form, even though apparently this won't be episodic in a sense, even though there will be episodes. Anyway, like, I feel like that's where Star Trek is at its best. I look forward to that, and again, I if I could get this movie and this was, the first 2 parts of maybe an entire season of episodes of this crew, I would be in love, sure. But that's obviously not what we're going to get. So. But yeah, I'll see it again in the theater, I'm sure, because I love Trek, and I'll find a way to see this again, and maybe we'll see how I feel after a second viewing. But right now, I'm kind of bummed by it.
Aw. But overall, Go see that film.
Overall, it's not a bad movie at all.
Yeah.
That's not at all what I'm trying to say.
It's not a bad movie.
You know, obviously, as a big Trek fan like I am, I have pretty high expectations, and I want them to be amazing and great. And this just wasn't like that for me. So, that was released last weekend. A big release this weekend, of course, was Jason Bourne. I did not see that, but both of you guys did. And I'm curious to know what you think. I've heard, I'll say, mixed things about it. So, Bobby, I'm going to start with you. Jason Bourne, what do you think of this film?
It's fine. It's not like I didn't leave the theater saying, "Oh, I can't wait to see the next one. I'm so pumped and excited." It didn't have that feeling to me like the other Jason Bourne movies did, and I don't know what to attribute it to. For me, the way the pacing or the way the movie was structured, it felt like car chase scene, action, walking chase scene, action, car chase scene, action, running scene, end. And it was like, okay, well, that's not, what is this? Like, I don't know. Why are we spending so much time chasing, like cat and mouse kind of thing? I want to see the action. I want to see him beating down fools, you know, or it didn't. I mean, they're sure he's fighting. Absolutely. Don't get me wrong. He's definitely doing that. But I didn't feel like this gave me anything sort of new to sort of contemplate with this character. It was just kind of like, you know where he is in his life at this point, and from the commercials you kind of see, okay, well, he remembers, but where do they take that, and what's going on with it? And then, you know, there's this whole subplot to it that is kind of like, I didn't really get into it. It didn't matter to me, but it was trying to converge it in a way that it made it to where it would include Jason Bourne. And there were some things that happened towards the beginning that I could see coming from a mile away, and it was just kind of predictable what they were going to do towards the beginning of the film. And I don't know, I didn't dislike it, and I didn't come out loving it. So I was just sort of like, if you are a fan of Jason Bourne films, you should still go see it, because it's satisfactory. I mean, I didn't, like I said, I wouldn't say anything bad about it, but it just didn't leave me with that feeling of like being amped up and really ready to go see another one after this. I just didn't, I don't know, it just didn't hit that spot for me this time around.
Michelle, you also saw it?
I did. Let me say that I'm actually a huge Jason Bourne fan. Like, I love
all three films?
The first three. Love them. I literally don't even know if I can rank them. Maybe, but man, I love the first three films. And I'll be honest, I actually haven't seen the fourth one with Jeremy Renner in it. So
I haven't even seen it.
No, I haven't seen the fourth one.
No, I haven't either.
What?
So,
yeah.
No.
And I'll promise you don't need to see the fourth one to see this one, because that one's a completely different.
Yeah,
it's a different thing.
It's a completely different thing.
So I will say,
can't believe you guys haven't even seen it.
And I do want to. I'm not saying I don't want to. I do want to. I just haven't gotten around to it. So yeah, I will say I am a huge Jason Bourne fan. Like I geek out on Jason Bourne movies. Having said that, I feel that Bobby's being kind. This was not good. I did not like it at all. It had zero depth to it. It just didn't feel true at all to the franchise and the Jason Bourne-ness, I guess, of it all. You know, I mean, there's things that are like, yeah, that's a Jason Bourne thing. Yeah, it's a Jason Bourne thing. But yeah, it's like what Bobby said. There's no depth and a further depth of his character or his memories that he has. It's very surfacey. And I don't like that. At this point, you can go deeper. It's cool. But yeah, I think they just tried pumping in way too much action, which, I mean, I love seeing Jason Bourne in action. That's why you see a Jason Bourne film. But there was no meat to it. Like, it was just, we're going to have an action scene, and then we're going to have a chase scene, and then we're going to fight a little bit, and then we're going to have another chase scene, and then we're going to have a big blow 'em up, you know, action scene kind of thing happening again. And it just kind of felt like that over and over, like Bobby was saying. Like, there was no major hunks of things that you could really grab onto storyline wise. And what very little storyline wise there was to grab onto was extremely predictable. So predictable. I mean, the first 30 minutes, like I knew exactly what was going to play out by the time that the entire thing in Greece ended. Like I knew how that scene in Greece was going to end. And then, further down the line, you get to Vegas and then things kind of evolve and then they're in Washington, D.C. And the whole scene in Washington, D.C. at the end of the film, I'm like, yeah, duh. Like, did we not see this coming from a mile away? I don't know. Like, it just... Now, I mean, there are shining lights to it. I will say that Alicia... I'm going to butcher her name because I can't see it. Alicia Vikander. I think she did well. I feel like she's an actress that is growing and getting better. Poor thing. God love her. I feel like her accent kept coming through and I'll give her credit. Like an American accent is not an easy accent to learn, but there were times I was just like, oh, she's trying so hard to cover this accent and it's just not working out to her what she needs to do. But overall, I mean, I was very happy with her performance. Watching Vincent Cassel, he looks rough, dude. For a French man, he's not aging well. It's kind of sad. Tommy Lee's also starting to get up there too, but he was enjoyable to watch. And I mean, like, I liked the performances I was getting. I just didn't think there was anything else of major substance to it. And it was kind of depressing. Like, I left the movie kind of going, oh, so that was the latest Bourne film, huh? Like, it was a big letdown for me. And like, not that I had like crazy expectations going in, but man, I just felt like it just wasn't even put together. It just wasn't put together well. It was just action scene, blow it up, fight, action scene, action. I don't know. And like, it's just hard. I don't know. I know it's just not the Jason Bourne storyline that I like to see. I just feel like they just didn't do it justice. It really bums me out. But I mean, Matt Damon still looks good. And he can still act. They just didn't probe, I think, deep enough. It was just, I mean, we can get spoilery with it, but I mean, it just is, I don't know. It just wasn't what I was looking forward to. I was looking for more depth of his past, more depth of him coming to grips with it. And it just felt like it was like, we're going to take one little fraction of it and we're going to work on that. Really? I don't know. But I mean, I will say those action scenes, goddamn, they were layered. I mean, the first 30 minutes is in Greece and it is kind of intense. But yeah, and they put together some pretty amazing chase scenes. Amazing chase scenes. And like, it's not saying that the action sequences and the fighting sequences are not done well. They're done extremely well. There's just a ton of them, and it just felt like we're missing kind of, in a way, the heart of what Jason Bourne kind of is in certain ways. Because there is a human at the core of these stories, irregardless that it's an action movie. I realize that. I mean, I feel like I sound stupid saying I didn't like this because there was so much action in it. But there's a person in there, and I feel like we just weren't really getting that. It just kind of...
It might also have to do with the fact that I read this somewhere, and obviously I didn't pay attention as I was watching the movie, but I read somewhere that Matt Damon had 45 lines of dialogue as Jason Bourne in this movie.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
I believe that. I totally believe that.
No,
like, that doesn't surprise me at all, because that's basic. That's what I'm saying. Like, God, Jesus.
Wow. That's awesome.
Not a bad way to make a living, I
guess.
Good Lord.
That's too bad. I mean, I will say, based off the things I've been hearing about the film, I will probably still go see it. I don't know if I'll see it in the theater, but I definitely stepped back, and it has been lower on my priority list because, I don't know, I haven't been hearing great things. And which is what I feared, like, from when I saw the trailer. I don't know. I feel like I saw the trailer, and I'm like, what story are we telling here? And it kind of sounds like that's the problem. So, I don't know. That's too bad.
Yeah.
I know when it comes to the original trilogy, though, I will say, like, I loved the first movie. It's great. The other two films, I liked the second film. The third film, I felt like it was getting into just a routine of like, okay, are we doing anything new here? Really? Like, and now it sounds like maybe the fourth film is even worse in that respect, but In fact, yeah, the guys over at Screen Junkies just put in an honest trailer for the original trilogy, which pretty much, just kind of makes fun. Of course, that's what they do. They make fun.
Right.
Makes fun of the fact that the formula for all three films is the same. The car chase and the running chase and all that shit. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of how I felt about the original trilogy, but that's too bad.
And I agree with that. What your synopsis there of the original three, like the first one's, I think, is by far my favorite.
Right.
I really still really enjoyed the second one. And I enjoyed the third one, but just definitely far less than those. I haven't seen the fourth one, and I mean, again, like, is this one technically the fourth one, or is this technically the fifth one? It's kind of hard to. I don't know. I guess they're calling this one the fifth one technically. I don't know, but I mean, to me, it's the fourth Jason Bourne movie.
Right. To me, the other one was a spinoff.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know.
And I will say, like, I feel like that version gets a lot of shit, and if I remember correctly, I feel like I enjoyed it actually, for what it was. I would have continued to watch films with him in it.
With Jeremy Renner.
I enjoyed that.
I'll watch
film.
anything with Jeremy Renner in it.
All right. Yeah. And Rachel Weisz. I'll watch stuff with her in it.
How many times did you see it?
I think I just saw it once. I haven't seen it.
How many times have you seen the originals?
I mean, I don't know how many times I've seen the first one. Probably a few. The second one a little less, and then the third one even less than that. The third one maybe I've seen twice. Maybe. Yeah. And that's probably just because I saw it once in the theater, and then maybe I saw it again on like TNT or something.
I used to run the first one. Like, I used to watch it like every other weekend when I was in college. Yeah. Like, because the way everything kind of worked out in my apartment complex, everybody was going to the college at my apartment complex. And so, like, everybody just left their doors open. And, like, the guys walked down the hall and be like, oh, Michelle's watching Jason Bourne, Bourne Supremacy again.
Yeah.
Just, I don't know. It was just kind of, I always had on. Like, I literally couldn't even count how many times I've seen the first one.
Right.
I always had that film on all the time. Just as background. Just so I can, like, study and do things. I knew it was happening. Like, I love that movie. I enjoy having it on.
I think if I were to dig up my DVD collection, I own the first two. I don't think I own the third one.
I've got all three. Yeah. Yeah, this one was a letdown for me. So, gotcha. I mean, Bobby, I feel like was, like I said, Bobby was being kind, I think. I definitely was not happy.
Gotcha.
I wasn't. No, I mean, I guess I can understand what you're saying, but I didn't leave mad or anything. I was just like, okay, well, that it wasn't what I was hoping to get out of it, but it's not bad. I didn't feel like it was, terrible or anything. It's just sort of like it's spinning its wheels. It didn't really move anywhere.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I'm not mad. I'm disappointed. That's such a mom thing to say. I'm not mad. I'm disappointed. It's like the most mom thing I think I've ever said. Yeah. No, that's exactly how I feel. I feel like I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Oh, that hurts.
So that probably stings worse. Yeah.
Well, we got a little bit of time left real quick. I will say, Bobby, you should be happy. I finally started watching Stranger Things. I have seen 3 episodes, and it's amazeballs.
Amazing.
It's just that, like, I want to live in that little world, like the early 80s and the fucking music, and it's so good.
It's so good. And now it's like you can kind of get an understanding of why, like, at Comic-Con, people kept talking about it. Like, it was the thing that I felt like most people were mentioning. Had you seen this or had you...
I can immediately tell based off of the conversation and knowing, like, where the time period that this is apparently taking place. I was like, all right, I get it. Everyone's comparing it to, like, Amblin films and Goonies and even more recently Super 8. And, I was quickly getting an impression of what kind of show I was getting into. And it is that. And it's great. Mm-hmm. Again, the music, there's 2 composers that work on the show, and forgive me for not having their names in front of me right now, but they do an excellent job. And I love it. And, it's definitely not a show I should be watching in front of my kids, even though I have been guilty of doing that over the weekend. And there will be a creature coming out of a wall, and my son is asking, what is that? What's happening? And I'm like, don't worry about that, son. No. Don't look at that.
Oh, no.
Just ignore that.
But it's good stuff.
Stuff of nightmares.
It's only 8 episodes in this first season, so I'm 3 in. I've only got a little bit left. I'll be finishing it soon, hopefully. But I dig it. So Bobby, I feel like you've been a parent that every day has been like, hey, you watch Stranger Things yet? Hey, have you watched Stranger Things yet?
I have to admit, there's certain things that are out there that I do that with people. I'm like, did you watch? And it's like, I don't know what it is, but you just want people to sort of get on the train and enjoy it, because you know that by knowing that person that they will enjoy it once they actually get around to
I've had shows like that and with other people other than you guys that have been like, dude, seriously, Carlton, watch this.
Yeah.
And they don't for whatever reason, and I get their perspective too, and I'm like, no, please trust me.
Yeah.
It was definitely like the conversation piece at Comic-Con all weekend. I mean, I feel like it kept coming up. I mean, like I would listen to strangers walking by talking about it. I'm like, Jesus, like it was the conversation happening all weekend long. Like, the funny thing was, like, I love it. Like Sunday, I think Bob even asked you on Sunday, like, did you watch it? And I'm looking at Bobby going, you realize that David was in Hall H with you all day yesterday. How the hell would he have accomplished watching this?
Right.
Like, it was just so funny. You're just so excited to share this series, this TV show. Like, it was just so funny. I was like, Bobby, when the hell was he gonna watch this? Like, what the heck? Like, but it was funny, just at the excitement level the show's getting. Everybody's really enjoying it, and I need to watch it. I've been meaning to, and I want to, and that's probably what I'll do tomorrow, actually. But Stranger Things.
And you guys might actually understand. You probably don't even remember it at this point, but when we were first sort of getting into Comic-Con, I think it was that Wednesday, and we were walking maybe towards where the bridge connects from one side of the street to the other, and there was like over on the side of the street where Comic-Con is, on one of the lampposts, there was like a picture of have you seen this kid, and it was from the show, and I was like, well, you guys wouldn't get that reference. And
Did you notice that those were changing all weekend?
No, I didn't notice that.
Oh, you didn't? Oh,
I only saw it the one time, but then I was like, oh, and I got geeked out about it when I saw it, and I was like, oh,
I can't share it with anybody because none of you guys have seen
no
it.
one's seen it, and it's like, oh
Sorry,
man,
buddy.
Hurry.
One thing I really wanted to watch this weekend, I had full intention of trying to see before we did this, but we're recording a little early, being Saturday, was The Killing Joke. Which was shown at Comic-Con as well. Wasn't able to make it to that while we were in line for Hall H. Bobby, you saw it, so I'm curious to know what you thought. Before you give me your thoughts, though, I will say this is what I fear about it, and I'm curious to know if this is the case. One thing from the trailers that's had me scratching my head is the animation. You look at stills from this, and the animation looks great in still form. But the second it moves around, every time I watch a trailer, I'm just like, what the fuck? It just looks so not good. And I don't get it, because a lot of the DC animated stuff that they put out on Blu-ray and DVD all the time looks really good. And why are they going this route with this? Something as beloved as The Killing Joke. I don't know. So I'm curious to know if that's a problem for you, and just in general. I mean, I got to say, I'm hearing mixed things about it, especially when it comes to a major change from the comic books that they do in this film. And I definitely don't get it from what I'm reading, but I haven't seen the film yet. So I'm curious to know what you think about that too. So Bobby, real quick, The Killing Joke, your thoughts?
Yeah, well, for me, the animation, I guess that's hardly the thing that I ever really notice or get bothered by, because I have a friend of mine that he watches the new 52 versions of the animated films that Warner Brothers DC releases, and he is not a fan of the animation. I guess he says it's kind of got that Japanese style animation that he's not really that big on.
Okay.
And I don't, it doesn't bother me one way or the other with the new versions. And same thing with this. I guess I'm not and it's the same way when I read comics. I don't tend to pay as much attention to the art. And I know that kind of sucks for some people if they hear that. They're like, well, and that's only
like half
because
the comic, man.
Well, and that's only because I don't know how to specifically gauge art in terms of how it's drawn or the line work or the pencils or the color. I have no clue of it. So I'm just looking and seeing if I can get what I need to get from the page by looking at the characters and what they're doing, because I'm more invested in the words in the story, and that's what sort of captures me as opposed to the animation or the drawing, and so for when I watched it, it was fine. I had no problems with the animation. You might, because you're paying more attention to it. I didn't, because I was just more focused on the story. That being said, I didn't really like the story that much. Now, I've read the Killing Joke comic book way back in the day.
Yeah, same here. It's been a while.
It's been a long time.
When I watch this movie, I mean, don't get me wrong, I know the major plot points of it, but I know when I finally do see it, it will be like basically reliving it for the first time. Like, it's been a long time since I've read it. Sorry, go on.
No, so what they've basically done here is given Batgirl, Barbara Gordon, more of a story to get you familiar with the character in the beginning of the film. So there's like a prologue which you kind of get her backstory, so to speak, and get more invested in the character. And then it's none of this is in the actual comic. And then after a certain point, that sort of prologue ends, and then it gets into the actual Killing Joke, which for me, I think it feels and seems pretty similar to the book from what I can recall of it. And that part was fine. I didn't have any issues with that. It was literally just all the stuff that they did with Batgirl and any of the changes that they made and tried to do in service of this new film, which I felt like it was just all done like I don't know, they for me it felt like they did the whole I forget, there's a phrase for it. I can't quite recall what it's called, but it's something like ice box or freezer, something, the character where they create a character just for them to kind of go through something bad so that it can be in service to something else happening for some other purpose. And that's what it felt like with what they did with the prologue. It didn't feel necessary to have to do that in order to tell the story of the Killing Joke, but yet they seem to try to force it into the story structure. And that, to me, made it worse. And it could have played better if they kind of just either left it the way it was supposed to be, or made not made the changes that they made in order for it to fit for this film and in purpose to Batman. And I'm purposefully dancing around some of the things because I don't want to spoil it for people, but there's definitely some big changes that they made, and I wasn't on board with it. And it almost feels like because they tacked that on to the beginning and service to everything, and as it goes throughout the whole film, it almost has that feeling of when they say that phrase for certain movies where they call it like torture porn, where it's just they just piling on and piling on.
Yeah,
it's just it kind of felt like that for that character, and it was just like, oh really? I mean, this wasn't necessary. It just didn't feel necessary. So it kind of dampened the whole experience of the film, which could have been so much better had they just not tried to, I think, enhance the character of Batgirl in the beginning of the film. But yeah, so I'm sort of mixed on it in a sort of way, because like after they finished that, or if you just cut that part out, it really seems like it felt more true to the Killing Joke. And however you feel about the Killing Joke is how you feel about the Killing Joke. But in terms of how they adapted that part of it, it felt true to the comic book from what I remember of it. And that part of it seemed like it was a better movie. But yeah, it's interesting to see the response for what people are saying about it, because I can totally see that side of it in regards to the changes that they made. And that's not just people being purists for the sake of being a purist, but because it really feels like they did a disservice to that character by doing the things that they did with it.
Yeah, I mean, I've yet to see an example in the brief reviews I've read of someone going, okay, this is why this change makes sense. And the change that they make, it sounds like everyone's coming back going, I don't get it. Like, and they're not, again, like you just said, it's not that they're just being that way, like, oh, we're purists and you shouldn't make this change. It's just like, fine, make the change, but have a good reason for it. And I haven't seen an example of anyone saying this is a good reason why they did this. So it's like, well, what the fuck? So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm
definitely curious to watch it. I mean, I don't have high hopes for it at this point, but I'm definitely curious to see it so I can have my own opinion on this and see what's going on, because I'm interested.
Yeah.
And yeah, for those listening, this is available on digital download right now. It's not available on Blu-ray until August 2nd. So yeah, if you're looking for a disc version of it, it's not out yet, but it might be out by the time this is posted.
I was gonna say it's like around the corner.
Yeah, it's just like Tuesday. So anyway, and then real quick, you also saw Nerve.
I did. That was the movie that has Dave Franco and Emma Roberts in it, and the whole premise behind it is that there's this game that's out there that's basically where you follow these people who want to do these stunts or dares, and if they complete the dare, they get money, and if they complete enough of these series of dares, they get into the final round and can win all this money. And it becomes this whole sort of underground sensation of people doing all these dares or people watching people do these dares. And I thought that the premise of it had a lot of promise and it could be something potentially really good. But I think it just kind of didn't live up to its premise. It just sort of fell short of it. I think it didn't push it far enough. I feel. I think that it was it covered its bases on a surface level and of a story that felt more like it could be geared towards a younger audience and not geared towards the audience that I was expecting or suspecting it could go. So like I was thinking in terms of if most people, the way they feel about the first Purge movie, where they liked the premise, but they felt like it didn't go far enough for them in terms of what they were looking for. I think that's kind of like how I feel about this. I think there could have been more done with that premise that it just didn't deliver. And it wasn't horrible. It's not really, it's not done in a way that it made me think like that was a waste of time or it was a piece of crap or anything like that. It's just that it was like disappointing. It just didn't go to the places I thought that it was going to go to.
Bummer.
Yeah. I mean, like, again, I would say if someone is sitting at home and it pops up on their Netflix, you should check it out. It's worth at least a watch. I would, I'd say if we were scoring it and there was 5 out of 5 or whatever is the best, I'd probably say it's like a 3, maybe
2.5.
Yeah, maybe 2.5 is probably more like it, but not a bad 2.5. Just like it's fine.
It's watchable.
It's watchable. It's watchable. There you go.
Gotcha.
That's the rating. I don't know what kind of animatronic or effect that you could have for watchable, but it's watchable.
Cool. All right. Well, with that, guys, it's time to get out of here. As always, we'd love to know what everybody listening thought of the show. You can let us know by emailing us at feedback@flickereffect.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Google+, Twitter, and YouTube. You can find links to those accounts on our website. Just look over on the right-hand side. And you can also call us. Leave us a voicemail at 407-308-5509. Leave us a question or comment. We may play it on the air. And also make sure to check out our News Effect podcast. We'll be counting down the top 10 news items of the week. We do that every week. You can find it at the same place you found this. So make sure to check that out. With that, I'm David Lott.
I'm Bobby Jackson.
I'm Michelle Curry.
Thanks for listening, everybody.